Welcome to Math Enhancement. I will be your professor, Nadine Alex Bravo. So as we know, we have 4 areas for math enhancement that we should focus on. And for the first area, that would be algebra. And with algebra, we will start the first chapter with everything we need to know about polynomials. So we have to brush up all the basics para alam natin or wala tayong malimutan. Okay, and then also if you already have the necessary skills, then most probably we can improve them. Okay, so with polynomials, we will be discussing first the basic concepts, and then followed by how to add, subtract, and of course, multiply and divide polynomials, along with the laws of exponents that we have to emphasize, especially when we are working with simplifying algebraic expressions. And then the last topic would be synthetic division as an alternative to the long method we use for the division of polynomials. Okay, so to start with, for the basic concepts, there are very important terms na kailangan alam talaga natin when we're dealing with math. Para naman, we are on the same page. Iisa yung pinag-uusapan natin at isa yung pagkakaintindi natin dun sa mga terms na sinasabi ko. Okay? So, when we say a polynomial, this refers to expressions that combines letters and numbers. Okay? So, we have letters and numbers in a single expression that contains at least one basic operation. Okay, so polynomial is a general term for expressions that contain numerals and letters or variables, as we call them. And then this expressions or these terms may be combined by one of the 4 basic operations that we have: the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay, so collectively, we call them polynomials. Okay, so a constant is a special type of polynomial that assumes just one specific value. So, alam na natin ito, it's not necessary for us to expound this further because alam na natin na kapag sinabi natin constant, ito yung mga values that assume, ito yung mga symbols, it could be a symbol, or it could be a number itself that assumes just one specific value. Okay, do not wag nyo masyadong ikulong yung inyong idea of constants na kailangan numbers lang sila. Okay, so we have constants that are represented by symbols. Okay, normally in algebra, constants are represented by the letters C and K, wherein although there are different values na pwede natin gamitan in place of C and K, when they are used on algebraic expressions, they are defined to assume just one specific value because they are known to be constant. Ibig sabihin, hindi nagbabago yung value niya. So, if C is equivalent to a value of 2, then 2 siya all throughout the expression or all throughout the use of the expression. Okay. We have here an Euler constant. This is Euler's constant. So Euler's constant is always represented by the small letter e, which assumes just one specific value, yung 2.718281 natin na value. Okay? And since we repeatedly use this as a base value in logarithm, okay, it's very important that we know that e is simply a constant value. Same with pi, diba? You have 2.1416, etc. Okay, but it uses a symbol to represent the constant. Ina-emphasize ko lang na hindi lahat ng constants kailangan numbers yung representation nila, no? May mga constants tayo na gumagamit ng letters, and as we know, in algebra, we've used letters as variables normally, pero meron tayong mga letters that are not variable because they are not assuming different kinds of values, but they are constant. Okay? And then, in opposite to a constant would be, yun nga, a variable, which normally we use English or Greek or Latin letters for this. So, yung variables natin are symbols that assumes different kinds of values. So, normally for algebra, we use X, Y, Z. Pero pagdating natin ng engineering courses, marami tayong mga variables na pwedeng ma-encounter. Okay? Hindi lang yung English alphabet yung ginagamit natin for them. So, either of X, Y, or Z can assume any value, okay, in the real number system. Okay? Following this, you have term. So, pag sinabi nating term, this is an expression preceded or followed by a plus or minus sign, or sa madalit sabi, this is a single expression normally bounded by product or division, Pero to differentiate one term to another, they are separated by plus or minus or addition or subtraction. Okay, so one term, example sa atin ng one term ay r squared. So as you can see, this is r times r. So ibig sabihin, you have dalawang r na nakamultiply sa isa't isa. We simplified it as r squared. Pero still, one term pa rin ang tawag doon. Because there's no presence of addition or subtraction para lang masabi natin na dalawang terms na sila or what. Okay. You have 2 over x. This is an example of one term. You have a plus b all over a minus b. This is still one term, although there is positive and negative, ano? Why? Because both expressions in the numerator and denominator, although you have 2 terms on the numerator and in the denominator, but since together they are bounded by division, okay, di ba pag sinundan mo yung PEMDAS, parang ang mangyayari dito, yung outermost operation niya would be division. Bakit ko sinabing outermost? Kasi, halimbawa binigyan tayo ng 3 plus 2 all over 3 minus 2. Ano bang una nating ginagawa? Di ba what we do first is simplify in the innermost sense of the term. So, para nangyari dito, inuuna muna natin ito, tsaka ito, yung nasa numerator, yung nasa denominator. So, you have 5 all over 1. Tapos, ang huli natin gagawin is to divide. So, you get 5 divided by 1. So, yung last operation mo doon would be division. Kaya naman, we say that division is your outer operation. So, anong nangyari dito? In the PEMDAS rule, the outermost or the last operation you'll do if the variables assume a certain specific value. Okay? Yung last operation na gagawin natin, yung tinatawag natin na parang outer operation, kumbaga, for the purpose of this discussion, ano? So, you have square root of y. This is one term. You have x minus y, quantity raised to 4. So, as you can see, you have 2 terms, x minus y. But since it is grouped together as 1 with an exponent sa labas, ibig sabihin, this is just one expression. Okay? Or this is just one term, kung tawagin natin. Same goes for x minus y minus z all over 4. Ano nga? Kasi in the numerator, you have 3 terms. Although you have 3 terms in the numerator, this is binded together by one operation, which is division. And that's the last operation you'll do in this particular expression. If ever, there are values for x, y, and z. Kagaya na ginawa ko kanina, diba? Nag-assign ako ng value for a and b as 3 and 2. Tapos, sinundan lang natin yung sequence kung paano natin isi-simplify yung expression if they are constants or they are numerical values. So, yung last operation na gagawin yun, yung outer natin. At yung outer operation mo, siya yung magde-determine if the expression that you have is a single term. Okay? Or multiple terms. Siya, like, our second examples are 2 terms, 2 term expressions. So, you have here x minus y, x times y minus 5. So, the first term is xy. They are grouped together by multiplication. And then, ima-minus mo daw dun si 5. So, you have 2 terms here. You have x squared minus y squared. So, as you can see, yung exponent natin, nandun sa every single term. Kagaya ni x, may squared siya. And then, you have a single term y na may squared din. And then, separately, they are separated by a subtraction as an operation. So, you have one term which is x squared, another term which is y squared, and then we separated them using subtraction. So, you have 2 terms for that. Pero kung ang nangyari dito is x minus y, quantity squared, okay, single term lang ito, because yung outer operation mo is an exponent. Unlike dito, ang outer operation natin kay x squared minus y squared is subtraction. Okay? And then you have 3x over 4 minus 5. So you have a fraction here. Ang outer operation yan is division. And then you have a constant here which is 5. And then separately, or we separated them using subtraction ulit. Okay. And then again, you have fractions or difference of fractions. So yung fractions natin is fraction number 1 is 3x minus 4 all over 5. And then the second fraction would be 4 over x. So if you take the difference between the two, then you have 2 terms. Ano nga po? Okay, so, kailangan malinaw tayo doon so numbers of terms that we have in the expressions. Okay? Next is, if polynomial is a collective term for our algebraic expressions, although algebraic expression would be a more general term, okay? Kaso kasi pag sinabi natin polynomials, there are standards to the exponents in the variable. So, yung polynomials natin, pwede natin siyang tawaging monomial, binomial, trinomial, multinomial. Okay? So, a monomial is a term involving only the product. Okay? Ang isang monomial daw, ang laman niya ay product lamang ng real number which may be coefficient of variables. Okay, so product siya ng real number and variables with kung saan yung variables mo contain non-negative integral exponents. So, halimbawa, meron kang 2x. Okay, so 2x is considered a monomial. Okay, kung halimbawa daw, because you have a real number here multiplied to a variable where the real number acts as a coefficient of the variable. So, yung variable daw, pwede siyang mag-exponent as long as the exponent is non-negative. So, kailangan positive yung exponent ng variable mo and at the same time, integral siya. Ibig sabihin, whole number siya. Hindi siya fraction, hindi siya decimal. Okay, so, if you have 2x squared, then this is called a monomial. Pero if you have 2x raised to negative 2, then this is not anymore a monomial because the ruling on the exponent is not followed. Para maging monomial siya, kailangan positive ang exponent and whole number siya. So, kung halimbawa meron tayong 2x raised to 1/2, hindi pa rin siya considered na monomial kasi hindi naman to whole number. Kailangan integral, an integer. So, if it is an integer, then it is a whole number. Ano po? Okay. So, si 8, si 4x, these are monomials. 23x squared y is considered a monomial kahit pa dalawa yung klase ng variables niya. Okay lang yon. X multiplied by x plus y is also considered a monomial. You have two factors here. You have x, which is multiplied to x plus y. So, since the outer operation is multiplication, ibig sabihin, this is considered just one term. So, kung one term siya, ibig sabihin, monomial siya. Pero checking with the exponents of the variables, since positive 1 naman lahat, then check. Monomial nga yung x times x plus y natin. Okay? And then followed by square root of 2, xy. Wala tayong kaso dun sa constant. Okay? Or the so-called numerical coefficient or yung number na nag-accompany ng ating variables. Okay lang, kahit anong number yan, kahit yan ay radical, kahit decimal yan, walang problema. It's not required to be integral. Ang kailangan lang integral sa atin would be exponent. Pero yung constants or numerical coefficients natin, it can take any value in the real number system. Okay, so it could be a whole number, it could be an integer. Okay, so you have or a decimal or a fraction. And then you have xy all over 4. So this is still considered a monomial because you have both x and y in the first degree or in the exponent positive 1. And then your numerical coefficient here is 1/4, diba? Kasi if you're going to write xy over 4 can be written as 1/4 of xy. So, yung numerical accompaniment natin is simply 1/4, which is a decimal but still a real number. So, it's still considered a monomial. Okay? But what are the examples of terms which are not considered monomial? So, number 1 is, first example is 1 over x because you have the variable in the denominator and we know that when a term is in the denominator, pwede mo siyang ilagay sa taas, okay? Pwede mo siyang ilipat sa taas. You can put this or you can move this across the fraction bar. Pag nilipat mo siya sa taas, you will get 1. Tapos ililipat ko si x sa taas, pero it will bear a negative sign or it will bear a reverse sign. So kung sa denominator that's x raised to positive 1, 'di ba? Pag inakyat mo siya, okay, magiging negative yung exponent na 'yon. So, you'll have 1x raised to negative 1 or simply x raised to negative 1. And we know for sure that dapat daw non-negative or in short, positive dapat yung exponent ng ating terms or variables. So, this is not considered monomial kasi negative yung exponent niya. Okay. You have a over b plus 5. Of course, you have b in the denominator. So, it will bear a negative sign if we remove the denominators. This is also not considered a monomial. So, the difference is, doon sa taas, you have square root of 2 times xy. Samantalang dito sa ilalim, you have square root of z. Okay? And square root of z, we know that radicals, diba? Although, I know for sure you have a little bit of idea on radicals. Alam natin na kapag square root, pwede natin siyang i-convert into fractional exponent. Tama ba? Square roots are fractional exponents. Thus, yung square root of z mo, this is simply equivalent to z raised to 1/2. At kapag 1/2 yung exponent mo, kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, it's not a whole number or it's not an integer. Okay, it's not an integer. So, hindi siya pwedeng i-consider na monomial. Okay, and then you have, so, y plus 5 is not considered a monomial. Bakit? Because this is consisting of two terms na. So, kapag sinabi nating monomial, dapat one term lang siya. So, itong y plus 5 mo, these are two terms. Although each of them are considered monomial naman, di ba? This is a monomial, y. 5 is considered a monomial also. But if you put them together and separate them by addition or subtraction, it's not anymore considered a monomial since ang outer operation mo is addition. And then you have 1 all over x squared. So, yun, ganun ulit. Kagaya ni 1 over x. Pwede nating itaas si x squared sa numerator. Then it will become x raised to negative 2. And if it becomes x raised to negative 2, ibig sabihin, negative na exponent natin. Therefore, it's not a monomial. Okay, so these are for single terms which we know as monomial. And then kapag dalawa na yung terms natin, we call them binomial. Okay, kagaya nito, this is a binomial. And then if you have three terms naman, we call the trinomial. Still following the non-negative integral exponents of the variables. Do not forget that. And then if you have more than three terms, then we call that multinomial. Okay? Next. So, kapag naman degree of a polynomial, so the degree of the polynomial in x is the greatest exponent occurring in the variable x. So if you have, for example, you have 3x to the 4th minus 4x squared plus 5, okay? Para malaman mo kung ano yung degree ng polynomial nyo, if, okay, there are two conditions. If there is only one variable, or univariate kung tawagin, one variable or univariate kung tawagin, ibig sabihin there is only one variable in the expression, then hahanapin mo lang alin yung term that contains the highest exponent. So in this particular example, you have trinomial which contains x, just x as a variable. So tingnan mo lang kung ano yung highest exponent dito ng x. And the highest exponent of x here is 4. So ibig sabihin ang degree ng polynomial na to is 4. Okay? Pero if the terms is multivariate, or if your polynomial is multivariate, ibig sabihin there are several variables in a single term, ang gagawin nyo po is to simply add the exponents of each variable in that one term, and then compare the sum of the exponents of every terms, tapos kung ano yung pinakamataas, yun yung magiging degree ng polynomial natin. So, if let's say you have 4x squared y minus 3xy cubed plus 4xyz. Okay? So, yung first term mo, that's x squared y. So, x squared has an exponent of 2, and y has an exponent of 1. So, you get 3 as a sum of the exponents in the first term. Pagdating mo sa second term, you have their x raised to 1, so you get 1, and then y is raised to 3, so you get 4 as a sum. And then for the third term, you have 4xyz, but since there are just one of each variable, 1x, 1y, 1z, then you have 3 as a sum of the exponents. So overall, pinakamataas dito in terms of sum, yung ating middle term, which is 3xy cubed, okay, or negative 3xy cubed. Therefore, whose sum is 4, so therefore, ang degree ng polynomial na to, which is multivariate, is equivalent to 4. So, kung ano yung sum ng exponents, yun po yung ating degree of the polynomial. Okay? Coefficients. So, if a monomial is expressed as a product of two or more symbols, each symbol is known as the coefficients of the rest of the products. Okay? So, coefficients can be classified as either numerical coefficients for the numbers or for the numerals, and then literal coefficients ang tawag natin for the variables. So, in the expression 3x to the 4th, or in the term 3x to the 4th, 3 is considered your numerical coefficient, and then x to the 4th is your literal coefficient. So, if you go over to the multivariate polynomial that you have, yung 4xyz natin dito, your numerical coefficient there is 4, okay? And then xyz, yun, yung magkakasamang xyz, which are all variables, those will be considered as your literal coefficient. Kung halimbawa naman, meron kang algebraic term na ano lang, x squared y, okay? Baka sabihin nyo, wala siyang numerical coefficient. Hindi po ano. So, the numerical coefficient of x squared y will be 1. Hindi lang natin normally sinusulat si 1. Okay? Kasi nga, identity siya. So, identical. When you multiply any number by 1, it stays the same number or it stays the same expression. So, parang walang effect. Okay? Kaya, di na natin sinusulat si 1. But, 1 would be your numerical coefficient for such kinds of terms. Okay? For similar terms naman, so monomials are said to be similar if they have the same literal coefficient. So, as long as the terms bear the same exact literal coefficients, ibig sabihin same yung letter, same yung exponent, okay? Okay lang mag-iba yung order because we know multiplication is commutative. Pwede siyang mag-iba-iba ng posisyon. Still, okay, they are considered similar terms. If you have 4x cubed y and 44 yx cubed, these two are still considered similar terms. So, okay lang magkaiba yung numerical coefficients nila as long as the literal coefficients are the same. You have x cubed and then you have y. Doesn't necessarily need that the sequence are the same because, yun nga, sabi natin, kapag multiplication, the terms are allowed to commutate or pwede silang magpalit ng posisyon, they will still bear the same value. Okay, so these are similar terms. Now, knowing all those basic concepts, we move to how do we add and how do we subtract our polynomials. Okay? So, we have to note or you have to understand that when we add polynomials or subtract polynomials, only similar terms, okay, so yung binanggit natin kanina, only similar terms may be added or subtracted from each other or with each other. Okay? So, para mag-add ng polynomials, we simply add the numerical coefficients of the like terms or the similar terms and then affix their literal coefficients since similar naman yon. Ano po? So, we have a set of examples here. Let me get a note para lang makita natin yung solution. But I know for sure that you already understand this or alam ko may idea na kayo with this. Ano nga po? So, let's write here addition of polynomials. Okay, so for number 1, we are being asked to add 3x squared. Pwede natin, yan. So you have 3x squared minus 4x minus 4y. And then the next expression is 7x squared minus 2y minus 2. And then you have negative 4x squared plus x minus y minus 7. Okay. You can add this vertically or you can write them horizontally. Kayo po ang bahala. Okay, walang issue sa akin yun. So, if we're going to add this, kunin nyo lang daw yung similar terms. So, similar terms would be, number 1, you have x squared, diba? Ito, x squared, and x squared. So, ang gagawin nyo lang daw dyan is to simply add the numerical coefficients of each. So, this one has 3, this one has 7, and this one is negative 4. So, if we're going to simplify this vertically, that would be 3. That would be 3 plus 7, that's 10, minus 4, that's 6. Okay, so you have 6x squared. Tama ba? I-affix mo lang yung similar literal coefficient natin. And then you have, we also have x, diba? Meron tayong 4x, and then you have x lamang. And then, wala na. The rests are y and constants. So, we focus on x, and that will give us negative 4. Negative 4 plus positive 1, so you get negative 3. So, we write here, negative 3, and then affix the same literal coefficient, which is x. And then, followed by, let's use y naman. Let's go over y naman. So, you have, let me change the color para hindi malito. So, you have 4y. You have negative 4y. You have negative 2y. And then, you have negative y. Okay, so you have negative 4. Plus negative 2, that's negative 6, plus negative 1, that's negative 7. So, you have negative 7, okay, and then affix the same variable y, and then the remaining terms are just constant. So, you have negative 2 at saka negative 7. So, negative 2 plus negative 7, you have negative 9. Okay, so we can work on number 2 na. Okay, so let me write down the givens. Pwede siyang horizontal. You can write your given horizontally. So, pwede siyang 8x squared minus 7x minus 27. Para lang hindi magkaroon ng error. Yung expressions, i-enclose nyo ng parentheses and then you add the remaining terms or the remaining expressions. So, you have plus 5x squared minus 6x minus 15y and then plus you have negative 4x squared plus 11x minus 9y. Why do I have to show you this? Or why do I have to enclose them in parentheses? Because kung gusto mo maging safe ka lagi sa solution mo, lalo na if we're handling subtraction, alam natin na you have to change the signs of the what do you call it? Susunod na terms. Or the terms following the negative sign or the subtraction sign or the minus sign. So, kailangan palitan natin yung sign nun. Ngayon, if you are to create a habit of being sure with your answers, kailangan uniform na para hindi yung paiba-iba yung style, 'di ba? Pero nasa sa inyo naman yun eh. So, pwede na nating diretso to, 'di ba? So, you have 8x squared, you have 8x squared, 5x squared, and then negative 4x squared. So, that would be 8 plus 5, 13, minus 4, so you get 9x squared. Okay? And then you have x terms, so you have negative 7x, negative 6x, so that's negative 13x. Negative 13 plus 11x, so you get negative 2x. Ano nga po? So, negative 2x. And then lastly, meron pala tayong y term. So, puntahan natin yung y terms natin. You have negative 15y, and then you have negative 9y. So, all in all, that's negative 24. So, we write here minus 24y, and then the remaining ones are just constants, pero isang term na lang yun, which is 27, di ba? So, we simply copy this kasi wala naman tayong isasama or isusubtract sa kanya. So, you get negative 27. And that would be our answer for number 2. So, kailangan lang careful pag nagsasolve na nga po. There will be errors that you might commit. So, it's very important that sometimes we double check our solution para tama yung sagot natin. Lalo na when you will be using algebraic manipulation for differential calculus. Okay, so let's move to the next one. So, the next one is subtraction naman. So, to subtract polynomials naman, you have to remember that you have to change the sign of the subtrahend and proceed as in addition. So, di ba, minuend, subtrahend, like, let me write that down. So, if you have addition naman, subtraction naman, if you have subtraction naman, okay, for subtraction, if we are taking the difference between A minus B, A is considered your minuend, and then B is considered your subtrahend. So, kapag nagsusubtract tayo, kailangan i-change nyo yung sign ng ating subtrahend. Or, sabi ko nga sa inyo before, you have to group the terms together by a parenthesis para alam mo kung alin yung magde-distribute ang negative sign or mag-change sign siya. Okay, so, let's perform the first example. So, you have number 1, subtract 4x plus 3y plus 5. So, that's one expression. We are going to subtract that from the sum of negative 3x. You have negative 3x minus y plus 5. And then x plus 8y minus 3. So, pag-a-addin muna daw natin, you're going to take the sum of negative 3x minus y plus 5. So, i-add natin siya with 8. With x plus 8y minus 3. And then from this sum, isusubtract mo daw si 4x plus 3y plus 5. So, I'll group that into a parenthesis. So, I do not forget that I will change its sign. Minus 4x plus 3y plus 5. So, pwedeng diretso na to. Or if you want, you can write that as negative 3x minus y plus 5 plus x plus 8y minus 3, and then you distribute the negative signs of the following terms. So, magiging negative 4x na yon, di ba? You'll get negative 4x, and then negative 3y, and then negative 5, and then proceed as in addition, yung ginagawa natin kanina. So, you just look for the similar terms. Therefore, you have negative 3x, positive x, and negative 4x. So, you get there negative 7 plus x, so that's negative 6x. So, we write that down as negative 6x. And then, we proceed to the next term. Ano pa? So, you have a variable y. So, you get negative y positive 8y, and then negative 3y. So, all in all, that's negative 1 plus 8, that's 7, minus 3. So, you get positive 4. Okay, so you get plus 4y. Do not forget the same variable. And then we proceed with the constants. So, you know that 5 and negative 5 will cancel each other out. And then you will be left with just negative 3 as your constant. So this will be our answer. Negative 6x plus 4y minus 3. Okay. So, doing the same thing with number 2. We are being asked to subtract the sum of 2x minus 9y minus 8 and 6x plus 4y. So, yung sum daw ng dalawang ito, we are going to subtract that from 2x minus 5y minus 7, which means 2x minus 5y minus 7 will be your minuend. Okay, so from here, from this expression, dito mo iba minus or isusubtract yung sum ng dalawang given. So, let me enclose that into a bracket. So, you get the first expression, which is 2x minus 9y minus 8. And then, we're going to sum that to 6x plus 4y. Okay, and then, group that in the parentheses and all together, group that in the bracket para lang malinaw yung solution natin. Pero, if you can simplify your solution para medyo konti lang yung susulatin nyo, wala namang problema. As long as I can understand what you are doing. Okay? So, you have here 2x minus 5y minus 7 minus the quantity. So, ang gagawin ko, I'll take the sum first before I take the difference. Ano nga? Kukunin ko muna yung nasa loob ng brackets natin. So, you have 8x for this. So, 2x plus 6x. And then, you have negative 9y. Negative 9y plus 4y. So, that's negative 5y. And then, with the constants, negative 8 lang naman yung tira dito. So, you have negative 8. And then afterwards, do not forget to change the sign, ano? So, pwede nyo i-distribute or kung gusto nyo, pwedeng diretso na. Okay? So, you have 2x. Here, you have 2x. And then, you have negative 8x. So, that would be 2 minus 8. You get negative 6x. And then, for 5y, negative 5y, you get negative 5y. You have negative 5y minus negative. So, that would be negative, positive, ano? So, you have negative 5y plus positive 5y, which means magka-cancel out lang to. So, we get 0. And then, it will be followed by the constant. So, you have negative 7 minus ulit. So, plus. Negative 7 plus 8. So, that gives you positive 1. So, our answer will be negative 6x plus 1. So, this will be our answer for number 2. And that's how you subtract your polynomials. Okay? Next. Yan. You have to simplify the following examples. So, let me write that down. These are extra examples, ano, that you can work on, that I'm going to solve to show you how to do it. Okay? Although napaka-basic na to, I'm sure you know how to add and subtract. Hindi pwedeng hindi, ha. Number 1. So, ina-emphasize lang ng examples that you have grouping symbols to follow when you are simplifying algebraic expressions. So, the first ones to simplify are those inside the parentheses. Okay? Followed by the ones in brackets. And then followed by the ones in braces. Okay? Halimbawa, yung ating algebraic expression, meron pa siyang parentheses after brackets. Kumbaga parang may bigger operation ka pa outside of the, parentheses outside braces. Ano ba, meron ka pang additional operation. Kumbaga, for example, halimbawa, you have 2 plus 3. So, i-group ko to together. And then, let's say, I'm going to subtract 5 from this. Okay. Grouping this together, let's say, i-square ko to. And then, I'm going to take my braces para siya ay i-square ko ulit. Kung halimbawa may additional operation ka pa sa labas, mauulit lang po si parentheses, brackets, and braces. So, kung magdadagdag ka pa ng operation outside of the braces, lalaki lang yung parentheses natin. So, maglagay ulit ang exponent. So, ganun lang siya. Okay? So, the first ones to simplify are the innermost of the expression, and those are in the parentheses, followed by the brackets, and then followed by the braces. Okay, so for number 1, going back, let me write down the given. That's, pwede ko ba itong i-move sa side na konti? Okay, masyadong maliit. Okay, so you have number 1. Number 1 is the negative of, so you have a brace there. Negative 2x minus y minus bracket 3x minus parentheses 4x plus y minus 3. Okay, minus y bracket minus 7 braces. So let's start with those in the parentheses first. So ang nasa parentheses mo dito is ito, di ba? Okay. To remove the parentheses, since wala naman tayong pwedeng i-simplify sa loob because these are all dissimilar terms, pwede na lang nating tanggalin yung parentheses by distributing the negative sign. Ano nga po? Para ma-remove na natin yung parentheses natin. So, rewriting this, that would be the negative of, okay, negative 2x minus y minus the quantity 3x, and then I'm going to distribute the negative sign. So, that would be negative 4x, negative y, diba? And then positive 3. To be followed by minus y, but still I have bracket after y, and then minus 7 braces. Afterwards, if you're going to notice, sunod natin is the brackets naman. So, dito sa loob ng brackets, may mga similar terms tayo na pwede nating i-simplify. So, if we're going to simplify that, dun muna tayo magsimula. So, I can simplify this as the negative of, you have negative 2x minus y minus the quantity. So, landun pa rin yung brackets ko. I'll simplify yung nasa loob muna. So, you get, this one can be simplified as 3x minus 4x. So, you have there negative x, and then you have negative y and negative y, diba? You have this. Okay, so that's negative 2y if you simplify. Okay, and then constant, isa lang naman yung constant natin, which is 3, close bracket, minus 7, and then close braces. So, since wala nang similar terms inside the brackets, dito sa loob na to, wala na tayong pwedeng i-simplify. Pwede na lang natin i-distribute yung negative sign para matanggal na natin yung brackets natin. Ano? So, that would be the negative of, okay, negative 2x minus y. So, negative. So, ito na to ha. Negative. So, you get positive x, positive 2y, and then negative 3, followed by minus 7. Close braces. And then yun, yung nasa loob na ng braces yung sisimplify natin. So, let's start with x. You have negative 2x plus x. So, that would be negative x. So, let's write that down as negative of the braces quantity. So, you have negative x for this, followed by y. So, you have negative y and positive 2y. So, that's positive y. And then, we can simplify the constants. Negative 3 minus 7, that's negative 10. Negative 10. Close braces, and then you have a negative sign outside. So, we distribute lang ulit natin to remove the braces. So, our final answer will be positive x minus y plus 10. Okay, so this will be our, this will be our answer for number 1. Okay, next. So, let's continue on number 2. Okay, so our given is the negative of, you have 3x plus 4y minus the quantity 7x minus 8, close parentheses, close braces, minus open brace 3x minus, you have brackets of negative 4y minus parentheses x minus 5, close parentheses, close bracket, close braces. So, as you can see, may dalawa kang portion dito, di ba? You have this one minus the other group. Minus this one. Okay, so let's start with removing the innermost expressions first. So, you have the negative of 3x plus 4y. And then, for negative 7x, that's negative 7x positive 8, close brace, minus, I'll just copy 3x and then I'll start with parenthesis muna. So, I'll have minus the quantity of negative 4y and then distribute this. Diba? Sa parenthesis muna tayo. So, you get positive x. Sorry, you have negative x, positive 5. Okay, so yun, na-remove na natin yung parenthesis. And then, we simplify those in brackets. Pero, at the same time, pwede mo na rin namang i-simplify ito kasi isa na lang naman yung grouping symbol niya, which is the brace. Ano nga? So, that would be negative of, so I'll have 3x minus 7x. So, that would be negative 4x. I do not have any similar term with y. So, I'll have plus 4y. Okay, plus 8. Minus braces, 3x. And then, I'll remove the brackets by distributing the negative sign ulit. So, that would be negative, negative, positive 4y. Okay, and then positive x. And then negative 5. Diba? And then negative 5. Okay. And then, I'll distribute this negative sign sa loob ng braces ko. So, that would be positive 4x na. Okay, negative 4y, negative 8. And then, if you want, pwede namang pwedeng i-distribute na rin natin yung negative sign nito. Tapos, afterwards, saka na lang tayo mag-simplify nung nasa loob ng brace natin. Kasi wala na naman eh. I mean, pwede namang after na natin mag-distribute, saka natin i-simplify yung 3x plus x, which is 4x. Pwedeng ganun. So, you get negative 3x, negative 4y, negative x, positive 5. Okay? Yan. Tapos, isi-simplify na natin to, proceeding with addition na. So, you have there 4x minus 3x minus x. Diba? So, that's 0. Magka-cancel out na to. And then, you have y. So, you have negative 4y tsaka negative 4y. So, that's negative 8y. It's negative 8y. And then, the constants, you have negative 8 tsaka positive 5. So, you get negative 3. Okay? And that will be our answer. Let me box that. Ito ngayon yung sagot natin. Okay? Next, let's proceed to the third example. Okay, number 3. So, for number 3, we have, pwede bang i-distribute ko na? Di ba pwede ko na itong i-distribute, yung negative sign dito? Okay, hindi ko nakakopihin yung given So, I'll distribute the negative sign here. So, you'll get negative 2x na. Okay, and then positive 5y. Okay, meron akong negative sign here. Tapos, ang kaharap niya is braces. And inside those braces, meron pa akong parentheses. So, I'll start with that. Ibig sabihin, kokopyahin ko muna yung braces ko. Minus brace of 8, minus 6y, minus brackets of 9x. Tapos dito ako mag-start mag-remove ng grouping symbol. So I have a negative sign here or minus. Didistribute ko to doon sa negative 11y ko. So that's positive 11y. And then you have negative of positive 15. So that's negative 15. Okay? I'll be able to remove the parentheses pero may brackets pa din. Minus 8x. Braces. Okay? Tapos, you have, may brackets tayo dito, preceded by a negative sign. So, yun muna yung i-distribute natin. Okay? So, you have, copy, negative 2x plus 5y minus, braces 8 minus 6y, and then distribute this. So, you get negative 9x, negative 11y, positive 15. Okay? Mariremove na yung brackets, and then I'll get negative 8x. Okay. And then if you want, pwede na nating i-simplify siya ng diretso, pero para safe tayo lahat, you distribute first. Ano nga? Kasi para mawala yung grouping symbols natin ng braces. So that would be negative 2x plus 5y minus 8 plus 6y plus 9x plus 11y. Okay. Minus 15 and then plus 8x. Tapos, yun, let's proceed with the addition by simplifying similar terms. So, with similar terms, you have here negative 2x, positive 9x, tsaka positive 8x. So, 9 plus 8, that's 17, minus 2, so that's 15x. So, let's write down 15x. Okay? And then, let's have the next term. So, you have y naman. 5y plus 6y, so that's 11y. Plus 11y ulit, so you get 22y. Plus 22y, and then for the constant, you have negative 8, tsaka negative 15. So, that's negative 23. And then, simplify, wala na, okay na. Yan, ito na yung sagot natin. We've performed the operations asked of us. Ano nga? So, that's how you add and subtract. So, be very careful lang when you're manipulating. Lalo na with calculus, napakadami yung manipulation with calculus. So, minsan, nagkakaroon tayo ng minor error. So, you just have to be careful. Huwag masyadong madiliin ang pagsisolve. Okay? Next. So let's proceed with the loss of exponents. So for loss of exponents, let me write that down. So loss of exponents. Okay. So for the first law of exponent, which is very helpful when we are multiplying, so majority of the laws of exponents we use in multiplication. The first rule will be the product rule. So to multiply two terms with similar base. Okay, so yung mga terms natin, you have the so-called base and then you have the so-called exponents. Yung base natin yung ilalim. Okay, so to multiply dalawang terms down na kung saan similar yung base nila or yung ilalim nila, you simply copy the base and then simply add the exponents. So as in, the first formula which is product rule. So ang formula natin doon ay a raised to m multiplied by a raised to n. Ang sagot natin dyan is kopyahin yung base which is similarly as a, and then simply add the exponents that you have as m plus n. So as an example, you have there letter A. So, let me switch my color to black. So, letter A. Let's say you have x squared y to be multiplied to x cubed y cubed. So, two factors to. Pwede naman natin sabihin two terms siya na pinag-multiply. So, altogether, one term lang talaga siya. So, in this expression, you have dalawang x terms na magkaibang exponent, diba? You have x squared and x cubed. And then, the other one you have y and y to the fourth. So, if we're going to simplify this is simply copy the multiply. By multiplying terms with similar base, you copy the base x. And then, kung ano man yung exponents ng x, pag-aadin lang po natin itong dalawang to. So, 2 plus 3, that's 5. Okay, tapos ganun din dun sa naiibang base. So, ibang base na to, kaya hindi mo siya pwedeng isama dun sa x. So, that's y times y to the fourth. So, we copy y. And then, add mo lang yung exponents ng y. So, kapag walang exponent yung y natin na nakasulat, ibig sabihin that's 1. Diba? That's 1. So, 1 plus 4, you get 5. Okay, so this is our answer. X to the fifth, y to the fifth. Letter B. You're being asked to solve for 2 raised to 4 multiplied by 2 squared. So, same base yun na 2. And then you simply add the exponents. 4 plus 2, so that would be 6. Okay, wag malilito ha. Kasi baka mamaya, the operation between the terms is multiplication. Ito yon. Pero ang ginawa mo, ultimo yung exponent, multiply mo din. So, hindi po ganun yun ha. Pag multiplication of same bases, yung exponents, ina-add natin. Hindi natin minumultiply. Okay? Letter C, you have then x to the 4th times x to the 5th. So, that's simply x raised to 9. Okay, so, familiarization lang ito. You just have to be very familiar with the basics or the fundamentals. And then, hindi na siya magiging magulo para sa atin. Kailangan lang magaling kayo mag-recognize. Ano nga? At saka, hindi na dapat nalilito. Okay? Next, so, let's continue this. Next is your quotient rule. So, for quotient rule, ang sabi dito is, to divide naman. So, yung kanina, multiplication. Ngayon naman, we're going to divide the terms. So, if you're going to divide the terms, and the terms happen to have similar bases, ganun ulit. Kukopyahin mo yung base, pero this time, susubtract mo naman. So, ang magkatugma dito, when you multiply the terms, you add the exponent. And then, if you divide the terms, you subtract the exponents. Okay, so, as a formula, that would be a raised to m all over a raised to n. And that would be equivalent to a m minus n. Okay na. So, solving the examples given, let's start with letter A, which is x to the 5th over x squared. So, both x's yan. We copy x, and then you simply subtract the exponents 5 minus 2. So, you get 3. So, our answer is x cubed. For letter B, you have 4 raised to 6 all over 4 cubed. Same base 4, so we copy 4. And then you have 6, so subtract mo si 3. Okay, 6 minus 3, that would be 3. Baka mamaya ma-divide nyo, gawin yung 6 divide 3, 2 ang sagot doon. Tapos 2 ang masulat nyo. Hindi ganun ha. Pag loss of exponents, when you multiply, you add the exponent. When you divide, you subtract the exponent. Do not use the operation given. Okay? Tapos yun gagawin mo sa exponents, no. Okay? And then letter C, you have x squared, y to the 5th, all over xy cubed. So, similar base to similar base ha. So, ibig sabihin ito, since you have x sa numerator and x sa denominator, and each, ito ang guideline ha, each of the expressions in the numerator or denominator are both single terms. Okay, single term lamang. Pwede nating i-divide. Therefore, you get x raised to 1. Okay, that's 2 minus 1. And then we copy y. And then you have 5 minus 3. And that gives you 2. Okay? Pero kapag yung given sa inyo, halimbawa, x squared y to the 5th all over x plus y cube, hindi tayo pwedeng mag-cancel ha, kasi yun yung common error ng students eh. Kapag nakakakita sila ng kamukha sa ilalim, kagaya nito, kamukha yung y sa ilalim, kinakancel na, hindi pwede yon. We only do cancellation, okay, kasi this is a part of cancellation, si loss of exponents. Ginagawa lang natin yung cancellation if yung ika-cancel natin, it will be canceled to another single term in the denominator. Pero kung, kagaya nito, binomial yung denominator mo, tapos monomial yung numerator mo, hindi ka pwede basta mag-cancel. Except, there is a common term sa denominator. Halimbawa, ang given sa atin ay x squared y to the 5th all over xy plus y cube. Diba mapapansin mo dito na, you have y in the denominator on both terms. Kung i-apply mo yung in the future, ma-review ulit natin yung factoring. Kung i-apply mo yung factoring sa ilalim, common si y dito, pwede kong i-factor out si y, and then that would be multiplied to x plus y squared, di ba? If you factor y from here, and then in the numerator, you have x squared y to the 5th, okay? Pwede ko nang i-cancel yung y dito. Okay? Pwede akong magkaroon ng x squared over x plus y squared. Tapos yung y to the 5th at y, pwede ko siyang gawing y to the 4th because this will now be considered a single term na. Unlike kanina na binomial siya. Single term na siya ngayon or monomial na siya ngayon because they are grouped together. Or, tama, single term siya. More correct is single term na siya ngayon. Tapos they are binded together by multiplication. So ito, since hindi naman siya nakapaloob dito or it's not part of this other factor, pwede kong i-simplify ito. Okay, so, kailangan naka-factor out yung term bago mo siya i-cancel from both numerator and denominator. Pero kung hindi mo siya ma-factor out, then wala tayong i-cancel. So, normally, nangyayari lang yung cancellations kapag, yan, one term lang ang nasa numerator and denominator natin. Okay? Huwag kayong magka-cancel ha. Hindi porket merong kamukha sa ilalim, kakancelin nyo na agad. Okay? So, that's how you do quotient rule for loss of exponents. Okay? Next, so let's proceed with power rule naman. Okay? With power rule, it's number 3. To raise power to another power, copy the base, and then now we multiply the exponents. So, ano ibig sabihin ng power rule? Meron kang base, let's say A. Yung base mo, naka-raise siya sa exponent, so let's say M. So, yung A raised to M on expression, in-erase pa, parang nilagyan pa natin siya ng exponent sa labas, let's say N. So, kung ganito daw yung itsura, that would be equivalent to A raised to Mn. If I'm going to give you a basic example of this, that's letter A. So, doon na lang tayo para diretso na. Letter A, you have x to the 4th cube. Diba pag sinabing x to the 4th cube, pag sinabing cube, 3 beses mong imumultiply sa sarili niya yung term. So, ibig sabihin, ito, equal to kay x to the 4th, minultiply sa x to the 4th, so dalawang terms na yon, multiply sa isa pang x to the 4th para cube na. And then, diba ito will represent multiplication of terms with similar bases. So, kung similar bases yan, kakopy natin yung base. Tapos, yung tatlong exponents, pag-a-addin lang natin, which is 4 plus 4 plus 4, that's 12. Okay? Yun yung essence, or yun yung sense ng ating power rule, kung i-relate mo siya dun sa, ang tawag dun, product rule natin, ano. Pero, as a shortcut, ang pwede na lang natin gawin dyan is, if your expression with an exponent is raised to another exponent, ang gagawin natin is to just multiply the exponents that you have. Okay? So, kakopy natin yung base, tapos pag bumultiply mo lang yung 4 times 3, that gives you 12, and that gives you the same answer. Okay, baka mamaya malito ha, doon kasi nalilito minsan yung mga students. Yung dapat i-multiply, na-add yung exponent, tapos yung dapat ma-add na exponents na multiply. So, kailangan very well-versed na kayo doon sa loss of exponents nyo. Ano? Letter B, you have 4 squared raised to 5. So, ang sagot natin dito is 4 raised to 10. That's 5 times 2. And for letter C, you have z raised to 5, quantity cube. So, ang sagot natin dito is z, just copy. And then 5 times 3, that is 15. Okay, ganun lang kasimple. Kailangan lang marunong kayong mag-recognize nung itsura ng mga algebraic terms natin. Okay? Next law of exponent is the expanded power rule. There are 2 cases in the expanded power rule. So, let me write that down. The first case is, if you are applying expanded power rule on products of terms. So, meron kang base. Yung base mo, product yan ng dalawang magkaibang variables. And then, those bases are raised to just one exponent, let's say n. So, for the expanded power rule, ibig sabihin, pwede mong expand yung algebraic expression by distributing the exponent sa loob. Okay, so mangyayari lang dito, magiging a raised to n, b raised to n ito. And then, kung yung terms naman sa loob are quotient, so if you have a over b raised to n, edi ganun din. Magiging a raised to n over b raised to n naman siya. So, it's very important that if you are well-versed sa exponent, kailangan napapabalik nyo din. Halimbawa, ito naman ang given sa atin, a raised to n, b raised to n. Pwede mo siyang isimplify as ab, diba? Pwede mo siyang isulat as ab raised to n. Okay? Kasi kailangan we go back and forth. Marunong tayo on both sequence of solution. Kasi kailangan natin yun sa simplification eh. Okay? So, solving for the examples that are already given in the presentation, you have letter A with 2a quantity raised to 4. So, ang kailangan lang dito is to expand the given. So, that would be 2 raised to 4 and then a raised to 4. 2 raised to 4, pwede nyo i-simplify by pressing it in your calculator. So, 2 raised to 4 is 16. Okay, 16a to the 4th. And then for letter B, you have 5x cubed quantity squared. So, that would be equivalent to 5 squared. Tapos, you have x cubed quantity squared. So, simplifying that, you have 25x raised to 6. I-apply mo ngayon yung power rule natin kanina that you multiply the exponents. And then, letter C, you have x squared over y, quantity cube. So, expanding or applying or distributing the exponents outside. So, you have the x squared, your numerator cube, all over your denominator cube. So, simplifying again, that would be x raised to 6 ulit. So, you multiply this all over y cube. That would be our answer. Okay? And then, lastly, you have letter D, which is 2x all over 3y squared, the whole quantity raised to cube. Okay? So, doing this, ibig sabihin, yung buong numerator mo, which is 2x, mareraise yan sa 3 all over, yung buong denominator mo, which is 3y squared, mareraise din yun sa 3. Okay? And then, yon. Pagdating pa sa loob, expand mo pa siya. So, i-distribute mo pa to. Pero kung sanay na kayo mag-simplify or mag-expand, pwede namang diretso na po agad. So, that would be, ginagawa ko lang to for the sake of presentation. Okay? So, that would be 2 raised to 3, and then x raised to 3 all over. You have 3 raised to 3, and then you have y squared raised to 3 also. So, simplifying that, you have 2 cube as 8, x cube, and then 3 cube is 27, diba? 27, and then you have y raised to 6. So, that will be our expanded form of letter D, given in letter D. Okay? So, yon. Next, law of exponent would be the zero exponents rule. So, with zero exponents rule, sinasabi naman ito, pang ilan na ba to? Pang-5 na. So, sinasabi naman ng zero exponents rule na kapag ang isang term daw, like x, is raised to 0, automatic you get to simplify the term to be equivalent to 1. So, any number or any base raised to 0 will always be equivalent to 1 except the base being 0. So, kapag 0 raised to 0 yan, we know this as an indeterminate form. Indeterminate form. And thus, it will not be considered to be equivalent to 1. Okay? Next. So, let's proceed with the examples given. So, letter A, napakasimple naman ito. You have y raised to 0. So, 1 na agad yun. Letter B, you have 5 raised to 0. So, even constants, kapag ni-raise mo sa 0, 1 pa rin equivalent yan. Even if you press it in your calculators. And then, letter C, you have the whole term inside the parentheses. So, you have here 7a cubed b raised to negative 1. The whole quantity is raised to 0. So, since 0 is an outermost operation or exponent that you have, ibig sabihin lahat ng nasa loob niya will now be considered equivalent to 1 din. Okay? Next. Meron pa ba? We have negative exponents. Okay. So, with negative exponents po, if you have an exponent that is negative. So, halimbawa, you have a variable x raised to a negative exponent m. Pwede mo siyang gawing positive, ang exponent ni x, ibababa mo siya as a fraction. So, magiging fraction yung term. So, halimbawa, if you have x raised to negative m, marireciprocal siya. Magiging 1 over x, pero yung exponent mo, magiging positive this time. And then, pwede siyang vice versa. So, halimbawa, you are originally given, ito lang, 1 all over x raised to m. Pwede mo siyang itaas kung kailangan. That will be x. Pag tinaas mo siya, magiging negative ngayon yung exponent na m. Okay? Or pwede namang nasa denominator yung negative. So, halimbawa, you have 1 all over x raised to negative m. So, pwede mo siyang itaas to make the exponent positive. That would be x raised to positive m. Okay? Tapos, meron nakalagay dito na, you have if you're going to follow expanded power rule, you have an expression inside, which is x over y, and then collectively, all together, naka-raise to sa negative n. Okay? If you are going to apply expanded power rule, pwede natin itong gawing x raised to negative n, expand natin. So, i-distribute natin yung exponent sa labas, all over y raised to negative n. Tapos, pwede nating i-simplify ito by removing the negative exponent. So, ang gagawin natin, pag-switch natin sila ng places, kasi, eto, nasa numerator siya, pero negative exponent niya. So, ibababa ko siya to make it positive, that's x raised to n. And then, y raised to negative n is in the denominator. Pwede ko siyang itaas to make it positive, that's y raised to n. Tapos, if you will be asked to simplify, pwede mo namang i-factor out. Parang i-reverse mo yung expanded power rule. Ilalabas mo ngayon yung common na exponent natin. So, pwede natin siyang gawing y over x raised to n. So, ang nangyari lang dito is, if you have a negative exponent wherein the expression inside is a quotient, para mag-positive yung exponent mo, you simply take the reciprocal of the term inside. Diba? From x over y, naging y over x siya. Pero this time, positive na exponent niya. Okay? Ngayon, may paalala lang ako with negative exponents rule kasi, nagagawa lang natin na nagtataas tayo or naglilipat tayo ng terms across the fraction bar if we are talking about 1, a factored term, or 2, if we are talking about monomials lang. Pero kung halimbawa, meron kang, let's say for example, you have x squared plus y all over x minus y raised to negative 3, hindi mo po pwedeng itaas ito dito. Okay? Kasi nga, this is a binomial already. So, ginagawa lang natin yung negative exponents rule. Pwede mo siyang palakdawin ng main fraction bar kung in between the main fraction bar, you have factored terms na negative ang exponent or monomials lang yung laman niya. Pero kapag ganito, hindi pwede. Ang pwede mong gawin dito is, if you want y raised to negative 3 to have a positive exponent, then, gagawin mo siyang fraction, pero dun sa denominator ng main fraction bar. Kumbaga, ito yung main fraction bar mo. You have here x squared plus y, and then you have x minus, yung y raised to negative 3 mo, dun mo siya i-retain as a fraction in the denominator of the main fraction bar. So, dito, magkakaroon ng 1 all over y raised to 3. Ganun yung magiging, ganun yung magiging treatment natin with such kinds of terms. So, hindi natin pwedeng palakdawin in the main fraction bar because first, they are not factored term. Hindi sila finactor out from the rest of the terms that you have in the numerator or denominator. And then, secondly, they are not monomials. Ano nga? Ito binomial na to eh. So, hindi mo siya pwede basta-basta ilipat. Okay? So, yun. Those are your laws of exponents. So, let's try the following exercises. These are exercises that you can find in your book. Okay? So, kumuha lang ako ng ilan, and then of course, you will be the one responsible to work on the rest of the problems in the exercises in your book. So, I'll be uploading an instruction in LMS on what you're going to do with the exercises, okay? So, let's solve for the exercise first so that we get a common ground on what we understand on the laws of exponents. So, for exercise, for laws of exponents, okay, so let me write here, laws of exponents, exercise. Laws of exponents. Okay, exercise. Okay, and then let's start with number 14 agad. Kasi yung iba naman doon basic lang. So, I'll allow you to do it yourself. Para naman, di ba? Marami kayong gawin. Joke. Para ma-practice kayo ha, kailangan you have to practice. So, the first question here is, so let me just, magnify the question. So, you have the quantity 2fg raised to 4, quantity raised to 4, times fg quantity raised to 6. So, first and foremost, you apply expanded power rule on each term. Therefore, for the first term, you have here 2 raised to 4, f raised to 4, and then the quantity g to the 4th raised to 4 then. And then the next term, you have f raised to 6, and then g raised to 6. And then simplifying, the ones in the parentheses first, diba? Grouping symbol guideline natin. So, you have 2 raised to 4, f raised to 4, and then g raised to 16. You have to multiply 4 times 4. And then you have f raised to 6, and then g raised to 6. But since there are terms here that are similar in bases, pwede pa rin natin silang isimplify, diba? By applying product rule. So, mangyayari dito, you have 2 raised to 4, which is 16. Pwede natin isimplify yan. And then you have f raised to 4 times f raised to 6. So, that's f raised to 10 if you add 4 plus 6. And then you have g raised to 16 plus 6. So, that's 22. And this will be our answer for number 14 if you're applying the laws on exponents. Okay. Number 17. You have the quantity of 4x to the 5th y all over 16xy to the 5th quantity cube. Okay. So, expanded power rule ulit. Expand natin siya. Expand natin or apply natin yung exponent na 3 sa loob nung quotient natin. So, that would be 4 cube. Okay? Or pwedeng ganito ha. Pwedeng ganito gawin natin. Instead of expanding first, di ba sabi natin, with PEMDAS rule, we can start with the terms inside the parentheses first. So, kung gusto nyo mapadali yung solution natin, pwedeng isimplify nyo muna yung nasa loob. So, yung nasa loob natin, pwede ko itong isulat as, this is 4x raised to 5y all over 4 times 4 or 4 squared, diba? Para sa 16. xy raised to 5, the quantity raised to 3. Para lang makita nyo na pwede kong i-cancel yung isa dito sa 4. So, if you simplify 4 over 16, that's 1/4, right? So, meron kayong 4 sa denominator. And then, pwede ka rin mag-simplify with x raised to 5 all over x. Magma-minus yung exponent itong dalawa, 5 tsaka 1. Ganon din kay y, diba? Tsaka kay negative, kay y raised to 5. So, pag nag-simplify tayo, that would be equivalent to the quantity. So, you have x raised to 5 minus 1, that's 4. And then, you have y raised to 1 minus 5, that's negative 4. Diba? All over 4. Kasi may 4 ka sa denominator, quantity cube. Okay? And then, you can apply expanded power rule. Or, pwedeng ang gawin mo muna, ilipat mo muna ito sa ilalim. Kasi negative exponent siya eh. So, negative exponents rule, bababa natin siya to make the exponent positive. So, pwedeng ang mangyari dito, gawin mo siyang x to the 4th all over 4y to the 4th na. Kasi magpa-positive yung exponent niya. Dahil nilipat mo siya sa ilalim, quantity cube. Then, saka tayo mag-apply ng expanded power rule. So, magiging ano to? X raised to 12 na, diba? 4 times 3 all over 4 cube. Okay? And then, you get y 4 times 3 ulit. Or y raised to 12. Okay, so ang sagot natin, pwedeng maging x raised to 12 all over, this one is 64, I think, y raised to 12. O kaya naman, depende sa kagustuhan ng, ano ba, depende sa instruction ng problem, or depende sa kung paano nyo gagamitin yung expression sa mga problems. Pwede namang ang gawin nating sagot dito would be x. Pwede natin siyang gawing 1 over 64, pwedeng ganyan, 1 over 64, times x over y, quantity raised to 12. So, maalin? Pwedeng ito. Pwedeng ito. Pero pag hiningi sa simplest form, ito yun. Ito yung simplest way to represent the answer. Okay? Next. We have number 28. Okay? So, for number 28, you have there 53x raised to 6 all over 13 x raised to negative 7. With 53 over 13, we cannot simplify that. They're already prime factors. Ano nga? Pero we can simplify x raised to 6 tsaka x raised to negative 7. So, that's by simply subtracting the exponents that you have. Ano nga? Quotient rule tayo bali dito. So, ang mangyayari, you have 53x 6 minus, magiging 6 minus, you have negative 7. all over 13. Mawawala na yung x raised to negative 7 sa ilalim kasi nga sinimplify na natin siya. So, ang magiging sagot natin dito would be 53 x raised to, that's 13, diba? 6 plus 7 na. All over 13. So, this is our answer for number 28. Okay. Next, number 32. You have there 3x squared y raised to negative 3 all over 12x raised to 6 y raised to 3. So, ang mangyayari dito, you have, pwede ko nang i-cancel kasi ito 4 times 3, diba si 12? O, ganito, sulat natin. 3x squared y raised to negative 3 all over 12 can be written as 4 times 3. Let me use a parenthesis. Let me use a parenthesis na lang for that. So, this will be 4 times 3. And then you have x raised to 6, tsaka y cube. So, with that, pwede ko nang i-cancel yung 3 na yon kasi common na siya. So, matitira, I have 1/4. O kaya, meron akong 4 sa denominator. And then, simplifying, since meron akong x sa ilalim, diba? Pwede ko tong gawing x raised to 2 minus 6. Tapos, you have y raised to negative 3 minus 3 all over 4. Simplifying, that would be x raised to negative 4 and then y raised to negative 6 all over 4. Ang magiging sagot ngayon natin dito is 1 all over 4 x to the 4th y raised to 6. Diba? Ibababa natin yung term sa denominator to make them positive. Pero, ang pwedeng technique nyo dyan is kapag nag-subtract kayo, i-retain yung position kung alin yung may mas mataas na exponent. Kagaya nito, sa denominator, mas mataas ang exponent ni x. 6 siya compared sa numerator, which is 2. So, pwede kong gawing 6 minus 2, that's 4. Pero nasa ilalim ang sagot, x raised to 4. Which happens to be, ganun din naman ang sagot natin eh. 'Di ba? Tapos, yung negative 3 sa numerator, tapos 3 sa denominator. So, magiging 3 minus negative 3, that's positive 6. Pero sa denominator, kasi nandun yung mas mataas na exponent. Pwedeng ganun. Pwedeng diretso na. Ano nga. Okay? Next, let's proceed to number 35. Okay, so you have here 4x to the 4th, y raised to negative 4 quantity cube. So, expanded power rule na lang tayo. That would be 64. Diba? That would be 64, x raised to 12. Okay, and then y raised to negative 12. So, pwede natin itong isulat as 64, x raised to 12 all over y raised to 12. Okay? Tapos, pwedeng ilabas nyo ulit yung ilabas nyo yung exponent na 12 using expanded power rule. So, pwede nyo siyang gawing 64, tapos the quantity xy, quantity raised to 12. Pwede yun. Depende nga sa kung paano nyo gagamitin yung expression dun sa problems na sinosolve nyo. Okay. Number 38. Okay, so you have here negative 2, a cubed, b squared, c raised to 0, all over 3a squared, b cubed, c raised to 7, the whole quantity raised to negative 2. So, ang gagawin ko muna dito is simplify the terms inside the parentheses, which means, wala na agad tong c raised to 0 na to. Hindi naman sa wala, pero magiging 1 na siya. 'Di ba? Tapos, pwede ko na i-cancel si a squared, magiging a na lang yon, 'di ba? A cubed, divide a squared will be a. And then you have b squared, divide b cubed. So, makancel si b squared, may matitirang b sa denominator. And then you have c raised to 7 sa denominator. So, if I'm going to write that, I hope you understand, ano? Pwede nyo namang balik-balikan yung video para makuha, kung hindi agad nakuha. So, you have negative 2. And then you have a, kasi you have here, a cubed over a squared. Diba, cancel yan. So, you have a in the numerator. And then, c raised to 0 is already 1. All over 3, canceling a squared, you'll get b in the denominator because you have b squared over b cubed. So, may mariretain tayong isang b term sa denominator. And then, you still have c raised to 7. And then, kagaya ng sabi natin kanina with negative exponents rule, kung negative exponent ng term, magre-reciprocal lang yung nasa loob. Diba? Magre-reciprocal yung nasa loob para mag-positive ito. Para maging positive 2 yan. So, magiging 3b c raised to 7 all over negative 2a quantity, positive 2 na. And then for our final answer, that would be 3 squared, expanded power rule naman. So 3 squared, that's 9. B squared, c raised to 14. Do not forget that you multiply the exponents. Divided by negative 1. This is negative 1 or pwede natin gawing negative 2 quantity squared, that's positive 4 a squared. Okay, so this will be our answer. Okay. medyo ingat lang tayo ha. Kapag halimbawa ito yung given, bawa, ang given ay negative 2 quantity squared, ang sagot natin dyan, positive 4. Pero kung ang given ay negative 2 squared, ang sagot natin dyan, negative 4. Kasi there's no parenthesis eh. So, if there's no parenthesis, and we're following PEMDAS, di ba? Kapag PEMDAS, you start with the parenthesis first, but there's no parenthesis. So, saan tayo mag-start? Sa exponent muna. So, yung exponent na kanino, naka ito lang, hindi kasama yung negative sign doon. Kasi wala namang grouping symbol, unlike the first one. Okay. So, 2 raised to 2, that's 4. So, you get 4 times negative 1. So, you get negative 4 as an answer. Ito kasi, negative 2 yung nasa loob. So, si negative 2, imumultiply mo kay negative 2. Kaya ang sagot, positive 4. Okay? Be careful on that, ha? And always follow PEMDAS. Okay? Next. So, I have additional problems here that are not in the exercises that you have or anywhere in your book. So, I placed it here for additional reference ba? So, you have an example which says 2x to the 4th plus 3x to the 4th all over 2x to the 4th times 3x to the 4th. So, we can apply basic operations on polynomial. So, in the numerator, pwede nating i-add to kasi similar terms sila eh. So, you have 5x to the 4th over yung denominator, pwede naman nating i-multiply. So, you get here 6, ha? Baka ma-add nyo din, 2 plus 3. 2 times 3, so you get 6. And then, multiplying x to the 4th by x to the 4th, same base, we add exponents. So, you have x raised to 8. And then, if you simplify, that would be 5 all over 6x to the 4th na ano. Kasi, you'll get 4 minus 8, negative 4, bababa siya. That would be positive 4. O kaya naman, 8 minus 4, that's 4. Pero mas mataas yung exponent sa denominator, kaya doon natin siya ilalagay. Okay, so this is our answer. Next is, yan, meron naman tayong exponents na variables. Kasi baka may magulat kayo. Ba't nagka-variable bigla na exponent? Wala naman tinuro. Pero, dapat, kahit hindi na ituro at nag-iba yung itsura, hindi dapat malilito ha. Hindi yung, kung ano lang yung tinuro, yun lang yung kayang sagutan. Kailangan ma-explore nyo yung principle ng math para kahit anong itsura yung ibigay, dapat na-apply nyo pa rin yung principle. So, wala naman nagbago, naging letters lang. So, you have the quantity 4 raised to n, x raised to 4n, y squared, all over 8 raised to n, y cubed, tsaka x raised to n. Quantity cube. You have to remember ha, pag laws of exponents, base ang pinag-uusapan. Okay, kailangan nyo munang i-check kung yung bases ay similar bago nyo ma-operate yung kanilang exponents. Kasi baka mamaya, ito, napansin mo na puro n yan, basta mo na pinag-add. Ano gagawin mo sa base o magkaiba? Kukopyahin mo parehas. Hindi pwedeng ganun, ano? You check the similar bases first. So, what I'm going to do with this problem is, yan. Meron akong, ano ba to? So, yung 4 at 8, si 4, pwede ko siyang gawing 2 squared. Quantity raised to n. Tapos yung 8, pwede ko siyang gawing 2 cube. Diba? That's 8. Then, quantity raised to n ulit. Okay. Let me correct this. This is supposed to be, this time, bracket na siya kasi may parenthesis ako sa loob eh. Diba? And then you have, let me just copy x raised to 4n. And then I have y squared. And then I have y cubed sa denominator. And then x raised to n. Quantity cube. Okay? Tapos, pwede kong power rule dito. Power rule ngayon ako dito. So, ang mangyayari dyan, that would be equivalent to 2 raised to 2n na because you multiply 2 times n. Then you have x raised to 4n y squared. Hindi mo pa rin pwedeng isimplify ito ha. Magkaiba sila ng base. Okay, different bases. Cannot be simplified. Okay, over, meron akong 2 raised to 3n dito. Okay, and then I have y cubed, and then I have x raised to n. Or if you want, multiplication is commutative. Pwede kong i-rearrange yung denominator para magkakatapat yung magkakaparehas. So, pwede kong unahin sa x raised to n. Tapos, tapat ko dito si y cube para tapatan na yung same bases. 'Di ba? And then, in that way, makakapag-simplify ako ng mas maganda. Okay, so these are all raised to 3. Okay, so solving that, same base, so you get 2. Okay, 2n minus 3n. So, similar terms yun. Pwede mong i-simplify. That's negative n. Same base x, you get 4n. 4n minus n. So, you get 3n. And then, same base y, you get 2 minus 3, so you get negative 1. Quantity cube. Kung gusto nyo, ibaba nyo muna yung negative exponent. So, that's x raised to 3n all over 2 raised to positive n, and then y raised to positive 1. So, I'm not gonna write it anymore kasi positive 1 naman yun. And then, quantity cube. Tapos, saka natin i-apply si expanded power. Ano? So, that would be x raised to 3n times 3, that's 9n, all over 2 raised to 3n, and then y cube. So, this will be my answer if I'm being asked to expand by applying the laws of exponents. Okay? Pero if I'm being asked to simplify, this is my answer. Naka-factor yung similar exponent. Okay, so I hope you learned laws on exponents. You just have to practice. Math just takes lots of practice para lang, parang, kumbaga, walang palya. Okay? Ayun. You just have to be very careful when you are solving. Okay, minor errors like the sign, kapag nagmumultiply, na-add, or nag-add tayo, namumultiply nyo. So, you just have to be very well versed with basic principles. Okay, so, understanding the laws of exponents is very important to us, especially if we will be solving products of polynomials or quotients or divisions of polynomials. So, for our topic number 4, which is the product of polynomials, ayun, so yeah, multiply lang natin, di ba? Normally, we simply apply distributive property or distributive law para lang mag-multiply. So, you'll just have a recap of what we do when we multiply polynomials. So, let me write here as a new topic, multiplying polynomials. Okay? Letter A. So, change color of pen. Letter A given. So, ang letter A given sa atin is that you have negative 4, which is raised to 100. And then x raised to 15. And then y raised to 23. Quantity, you have 4 raised to 54. X raised to 32. Y raised to 85. WZ. Okay. So, yun. Just apply your laws of exponents to simplify. Okay. So, I have here negative pa rin. Remember what I told you about PEMDAS. So, hindi siya mawawala dyan. Okay. So, I have 4, which is raised to 100, and 4, which is raised to 54. So, I'll copy 4, and that would be raised to 154 if I add their exponents. And then, you have x raised to 15 plus 32. So, that's 47. And then you have y, which is raised to 23 and 85. So, that would be 108. 108. And then I have w and then z. So, this will be my answer. Next, so let's solve for letter B. And as you can see with letter B, these are binomials. So, we are multiplying two binomials. You have 4x squared minus a cube times 3x to the 4th minus 5a raised to 7. And as you can remember, diba kapag nagmumultiply tayo ng binomials, we apply FOIL method for that. The first terms, so f. The outer terms, so ito yon. The inner terms, so ito naman yon. And then the last term, so ito yon. Okay. So, doing that, you have, so 4x cubed times 3x to the 4th, you will have there 12x raised to 6. You add the exponents, you multiply the numerical coefficient, so that's 12. Pero the exponents, you add them. Kasi same base yun eh. So, x raised to 6. And then you have negative 20 x squared a raised to 7. Or pwedeng a raised to 7x squared. Kahit alin na mauna. And then you have a minus. You have 3a cubed x to the 4th. And then for the last terms, you have negative. So, that's positive 5a raised to 10. So, a raised to 7 tsaka a cubed. You add the exponents. Okay, and this will be our answer. Okay. Ito na yun. Pwede nyo namang i-rearrange. Pwede nyo siyang gawing 12x raised to 6. In terms of x muna. Pwedeng ganon. Minus 20, x squared a to the 7. Minus 3, x to the 4th, a cubed. Inuna lang natin yung x terms in every term. X variables in every term. Plus 5a raised to 10. Pwede rin namang mauna yung a. So, pag nauna yung a, uunahin nyo yung 5a raised to 10. Ano nga? Okay? So, letter C. With letter C, you have naman product between two trinomials. So, you have here 2a minus 4b plus c squared multiplied by a cubed minus b squared plus 5c to the fourth. Okay? So, that is, since wala tayong FOIL method on trinomials, ang pinakamadaling sundan dito, class, is, with your left term, kuha ka muna ng isang term dito, let's say 2a, tapos i-multiply mo muna siya on all the terms dun sa kabilang side. So, i-multiply mo muna to dito. 'Di ba? So, mangyayari dyan, you have 2a to the fourth. Tama ba? You have a times a cubed. And then you have negative 2ab squared. And then you have plus 2 times 5, that's 10, ac to the fourth. After that, sunod naman dun is, dun sa left side mo, kunin mo naman yung sunod na term. Okay? Tapos siya naman yung i-distribute mo dun sa lahat ng term sa kabilang side. So, ang mangyayari dito, you get negative 4b, if I'm correct, negative 4b times a cubed. So, that would be negative 4a cubed b. Inuna ko lang yung a, para abc siya. And then, you have negative 4b, negative b squared. So, that would be positive 4b cubed na siya, b times b squared. And then, you get negative 4b times 5c to the fourth. So, that would be negative 20. Hindi ka siya. Dito lang sa baba. Negative 20b c to the fourth. So, in-arrange ko lang po yung variables na alphabetical para naka-a, b, c sila. Okay, and then lastly, you go to the last term, which is c squared. Tapos siya naman distribute mo. Yan lang. So, you have plus a cubed c squared minus b squared c squared. I hope you can see it. You can follow. And then plus 5c to the 6th. So, you have c to the fourth and then c squared. So, you add exponent. That would be 6. And then you just check if your answer has terms that you can simplify. Or parang meron kang similar terms so pwedeng i-add or subtract. Kasi ang instruction lang naman sa atin is to multiply eh. Diba? So, you have ab squared, ac to the fourth, a cubed b. So, I think wala. Diba? So, ito na yung sagot natin. Sulat nyo lang ng maayos. Okay? Next, let's proceed to the last one, which is D. Yan. Huwag ma-intimidate ha, pag nagkaroon na ng expression sa exponent. Ganun pa rin. Just apply the principle. Walang nag-iba. So, you have x raised to n plus 1, which will be multiplied to a trinomial with x raised to n plus 3. Let me zoom this in. Yan. Minus 4x squared plus 5. So, as you can see, you observe mo lang naman yung terms with similar base eh. So, if you multiply this here, since similar base yan, pag-aatin lang natin yung exponent nila. So, we copy x, and then in the exponent, you have n plus 1, i-add mo kay n plus 3. Minus 4, you have x squared to be multiplied by x raised to n plus 1. So, ganun ulit. We copy the base, x, and then you have n plus 1, dadagdag natin kay 2. Tapos, plus 5, and then multiply that by x raised to n plus 1 na, kasi wala namang x dito eh. Walang x term, or x is raised to 0 in that case. So, yun. Tapos, simplify lang natin exponent. So, you have there x raised to 2n plus 4, di ba? 2n plus 4. And then, minus 4 x raised to n plus 3 plus 5 x raised to n plus 1. Ayun na. 'Di ba? Yun yung sagot natin. Okay? So, yan. Pag nag-iiba yung itsura ng given, wag masyadong matataranta agad. Ano nga, keep your cool and then just apply the principle of what you learned. Kaya kailangan, pag nag-aaral tayo, talagang principle muna, hindi yung puro solve lang. Kailangan intindihin nyo muna yung core or yung discussion, kaya yung mga formulas na kailangan intindihin. And then, saka kayo mag-practice na mag-practice. Okay? Hindi yung practice kayo ng practice pero hindi nyo naman talaga naiintindihan pa ng maayos. Parang sa pagpa-practice nyo lang iniintindi parang. Dapat simula pa lang iniintindi mo na yung principle. And then if you have a very good understanding of it and then you try to solve and solve and solve, of course along the way medyo mababaguhan ka kasi may mga bagong problems ka nakikita. Pero if you understand the principle, hindi ka mahirapan mag-solve. Okay? Next. So let's proceed to division of polynomials naman. So, with division of polynomials, you have a short method and the long method, diba? So, to divide monomials, we simply use the laws of exponents and division. So, kanina meron na tayong mga terms na naka-divide, diba? We simply apply the laws of exponents para lang masimplify yung similar terms. Para lang masimplify yung terms with similar bases. In-apply natin yung laws of exponents with subtraction, diba? Parang sinusubtract natin exponent. For number 2, you divide the polynomial by anomial. When you divide a polynomial with a monomial, we simply, para bang distribute, Diba? Instead of a single fraction here, parang ginagawa natin is, if you have a plus b over c, sineseparate natin dito sa several fractions, yung numerator mo, as a over c plus b over c. So, common denominator ito. Okay? And then, if you will be dividing naman a polynomial by at least a binomial, so yung polynomial mo, i-divide mo siya by 2 terms yung laman ng expression mo, then we use this one, or the long method, the long division. So, you have a quotient plus a remainder over the divisor that you have. So, let's have an example for that, para magkaliwanagan tayo. Yan. Okay, you have, for division, let me write here, division of polynomials. I will not anymore give examples of the first two division kasi we've been doing yung monomial, yung dividing monomials. Okay na tayo doon. Tapos yun namang dividing a fraction into several fractions using a common denominator. Okay na tayo doon. Madali lang naman yun, diba? That's basic. So, let's start with the long method kasi baka nalimutan nyo na. What we do here is you have x squared plus 2x minus 3. You have to remember that division of polynomials is only possible if the numerator, yung nasa taas natin, or you call that dividend, di ba? If the dividend has a higher degree, yung polynomial niya has a higher degree than, or higher or equal to, than the divisor. Kapag yung exponent, or yung degree, or yung highest exponent mo, doon sa numerator mo, kagaya dito ay 2, mas mataas siya doon sa highest exponent sa denominator, which is 1, pwede kang mag-divide. Kung equal naman, halimbawa, x squared plus 2x minus 3 to, tapos yung denominator ay x squared minus 2, pwede ka pa rin mag-divide. Wag lang, mas malaki yung degree ng denominator. Pag mas malaki na yung degree ng denominator, ibig sabihin, the fraction, di ba, fraction itsura niya, is already in its lowest term, kumbaga. Okay? So, let's solve. You have x squared plus 2x minus 3, and then we're going to divide this by x minus 2. So, if I'm dividing by x minus 2, you start with the first terms first. So, x squared to be divided by the first term. So, x squared divide x, that gives you x. And then x times x, that's x squared. Diba? Tapos, you multiply x din to the remaining terms in the divisor. So, x squared minus 2x. And then you subtract. So, x squared minus x squared will be cancelled. And then you have 2x minus negative 2x. So, that will become positive. 2 plus 2x, you get 4x. And then negative 3, okay, minus 0, still negative 3. So, parang bring down negative 3 lang. And then after that, mag-start ulit tayo dito. So, yung first term mo naman, which is 4x, divide lang natin by x. So, you get positive 4 times x, you get 4x. Positive 4 times negative 2, so you get negative 8. And then we subtract. So, magka-cancel out lang ulit si 4x dito. And then you have negative 3, this one, minus negative, so positive. Therefore, you get negative 3 plus 8, that's positive 5. So, since si 5 has no more variable, or let's say x raised to 0 siya, yung degree ay mas maliit, kaysa dito, hindi na tayo pwedeng mag-divide further. Okay, remainder ngayon to, si 5. So, pwede mo siyang isulat as x plus 4, remainder 5, or, ang mas proper na sagot natin dito would be x plus 4, plus, kasi positive 5 naman to, plus 5 over the divisor, where your divisor is x minus 2. X minus 2. So, ito yun yung sagot natin for the long division. Okay? Yan. Next. Number 2. Let's just have a correction here. This is supposed to be x to the 6th minus 2x to the 5th y. Okay? Minus 4x to the 4th y cube plus 8x cube y to the 4th plus 2x cube y cube minus 8xy to the 6th. Kasi baka hindi tayo magkaroon ng magandang answer kaya kinorek na natin. So, you have there x raised to 6, I'm going to write down the given, minus 2x to the 5th y, minus 4x to the 4th y cube, okay, plus 8x cube y to the 4th, plus, you have 2x cube y cube, minus 8xy to the 6th, okay. All of this will be divided by, naku, ano ba naman yan? Kasi may space sa taas. All of this will be divided by x squared minus 4y cubed. Okay, so let's start with the x terms first. So you have here x to the 6th divided by x squared. Do not forget that if you're dividing, you're subtracting the exponents ha. Baka magkamali Kasi you have x to the fourth here, ibig sabihin, and then you're going to multiply this to this binomial or your divisor. So in result, that would be x raised to 6, okay, minus, so you have there, minus 4x to the fourth y cubed. Dito ko na tinapat dun sa kasimilar term niya. Okay, so subtracting that, makakancel mo to, and then at the same time, makakancel mo din to kasi similar term sila, and then same sign yung numerical coefficient. And then the rest of the terms, i-bring down na lang natin, ano? So that would be negative 2x raised to 5y, ina-adjust ko lang yung sulat ko sa left para kasha, plus 8x cube y to the fourth, plus 2x cube y cube, okay, minus 8xy raised to 6. Okay, and then we divide again. So let's start with this one. So negative 2x to the fifth y divided by x squared, you will get negative 2x cubed na lang. Tama ba? X to the fifth divide x squared will be x cubed, but you still have y. So that will be y. And then we multiply this to the divisor again. So that will give you negative 2x to the fifth y. Tapos you will get an answer which is x cubed and y to the fourth. So dito na yan sa ilalim. So you get negative 2 times negative 4. So that's positive 8. And then you get x cubed. And then you get y times y cubed. So that's y to the fourth. So similar siya dun sa isang term natin. Subtracting that, magka-cancel out to. And at the same time, cancel out din yung second term natin. Yung 8x cubed y to the fourth. And then we bring down the rest of the terms. That's 2x cubed y cubed minus 8x y to the sixth. And then, let's continue with 2x cubed divided by x squared. So, that gives you positive 2. Diba? Positive 2x na lang kasi x cubed divide x squared. And then, you still have y cubed. So, multiplying this to the divisor again, you will obtain 2x cubed y cubed, okay, minus 8x y to the sixth. Subtracting that, ayun. So, ibig sabihin, ano ba tawag doon? Complete factor ni dividend, itong si x squared minus 4y cubed kasi walang. So, ang magiging sagot natin, our answer is x to the fourth minus 2x cubed y plus 2x y cubed. That would be our answer. Okay? Next. So, let's move forward to the last section of this chapter on polynomials, and that is your synthetic division. So, synthetic division is a shorter way to get quotient between polynomials. Pero in this case, you have a polynomial, pero most likely you have a binomial in the first degree for the divisor. Doon natin ginagamit sa synthetic division. Ibig sabihin, binomial yung iyong divisor. So, ito, negative x plus 2. Tapos, first degree siya. Yun yung normal na ginagawa natin or ginagamit natin for synthetic division. Although there are studies na nagkaroon ng improvements or nagkaroon ng discoveries with solving for synthetic division. Minsan kahit quadratic ata meron na ano. So, yun. So, this is another method of division which is very short and simple. And we call this synthetic division. Usually, this is used to determine if a binomial is a factor of a polynomial. So, kalimitan natin ginagamit sa synthetic division para lang malaman natin kung yung divisor ba natin, like negative x plus 2, kung siya ba ay complete factor nung ating dividend. So, to show you how this is done, okay, so let's solve na. Let's go straight to the example. Kung naalala nyo pa. So, first and foremost, the dividend should be arranged in a decreasing order of degree. So, if you have here 4x cubed, then dapat naka-arrange na siya ng x cubed, x squared, x5. So, halimbawa, ang given sa'yo ay 4x cubed, negative 9x squared, negative 3x, positive 5. So, ang gagawin mo dito is, take out all the numerical coefficients, including the sign. So, that would be 4, negative 9, negative 3, positive 5. And then, we're going to synthetically divide this by, okay, yung binomial mo, or your divisor, dapat naka-equate siya sa 0. So, if you have negative x plus 2, you have to equate this to 0, and then you have to solve for x. So, ang mangyayari ngayon dito, ibig sabihin, your x is equivalent to 2, diba? If you transpose this to the right, magiging 2 is equal to x. Magiging 2 is equivalent to positive x. Pinagpalit ko lang ng posisyon, kasi similar lang naman yun. So, ibig sabihin, x is equivalent to 2. So, kung ano man yung value ng x mo, yun yung isi-synthetically divide natin from 4, -9, -3, and 5. So, if you have this, ang una natin gagawin is to bring down the first numerical coefficient, which is 4, and then multiply it to 2, yung root natin. So, 4 times 2, that's 8. You're going to write 8 on the next, under the next numerical coefficient. So, you get positive 8 here. And then, i-add mo lang siya vertically. So, -9 plus 8, that's -1. And then, continue, multiply this by 2. So, -1 times 2 is -2. And then, add again. So, you get -5. Okay? And then, you have -5 times 2. So, that would be -10. Tama. And then, -10 plus 5, you get -5. So, ang mangyayari ngayon, ito ngayon yung quotient mo. Tapos, kung yung last column mo ay hindi 0, so ibig sabihin, non-zero siya or may value siya, ibig sabihin, yun yung remainder mo. Okay? Pero kung nag-0 yan, ibig sabihin, yung divisor mo, that's a complete factor of the dividend given. So, ngayon, paano natin isusulat? Para masulat mo yung sagot, you will take 1 degree less than the highest degree in the original given. So, kung original given ay x cube, ibababa mo ng 1 degree yung sagot. Ibig sabihin, etong 4 na to, numerical coefficient siya ni x squared. So, -1. So, negative sunod kay x squared ay x. So, -1x or x na lang. And then, constant na to. -5. And then, this will be your remainder. So, we can write that as -5 over the divisor, which is -x plus 2. Okay, ito rin yung sagot natin. Ngayon, kung ang hinahanap lang naman sa atin is find the remainder when you divide a polynomial by this kind of binomial, meron tayong tinatawag na remainder theorem. Sa remainder theorem, ganun ulit. You just have to equate the divisor, which is -x plus 2, to 0 and find the value of x, which is positive 2, diba? Tapos, ang gagawin mo, solve for f of 2 of the given dividend. So, parang mangyayari, isa-substitute mo ito, lahat ng x, papalitan mo ng 2 doon sa given. So, diba ang given natin, bali ang mangyayari, you have a function given. Let me erase this first. So, you have a function given, f of x, yung function natin, as 4x cubed minus 9x squared minus 3x plus 5. And then, what you're going to do to solve the remainder is that, you solve for f of 2, where x is equivalent to 2. So, isa-substitute mo si 2 dun sa lahat ng x. So, magiging 4 times 2 cubed minus 9 times 2 squared minus 3 times 2 plus 5. So, you will have here, 4 times 8, that's 32. Minus 9 times 4, 36. Diba? 32 minus 36, that's -4. Minus 6, that's -10. Plus 5, that's -5. -5 yung remainder. Eh, diba, -5 nga yung nakuha nating remainder sa synthetic. So, kung remainder lang ang tinatanong, pwede tayong gumamit ng remainder theorem na lang sa halip na tayo ay synthetic division pa. Pero kung ang hinahanap naman sa inyo ay quotient, kailangan nyo yung synthetic division. That's the shortest way you can do the division. Pero pwede nyo namang ilong method yan eh. Nasa inyo yun. Okay? Let's try the next one. So, number 2. So, let's use synthetic division and then let's justify our answer with remainder theorem. Since remainder naman yung tinatanong sa number 2. So, you have the given as 3x to the 4th minus 2x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 1. So, ma'am, paano kapag ganito ang given? Paano kapag ang given ay 3x to the 4th minus 2x cubed plus x minus 1, paano mo isusulat yung numerical coefficients? So, ganun pa rin. Kailangan sunod-sunod, diba? 3x to the 4, 2x cubed. So, dapat 3, -2. Pero wala tayong x squared, diba? We have a missing term here. Wala tayong x squared. Pero you have to include that in the numerical coefficients. So, kung wala tayong x squared, ibig sabihin, 0 ang numerical coefficient niya. So, you're going to write down 0 dun sa nawawalang term. Kasi kailangan decreasing yung degree natin. And then 1, and then -1. Okay? Pero going back to the question in the problem, that's 3x to the 4th minus 2x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 1. So, I'm going to write down its numerical coefficients as 3, -2, -1, +1, -1. And its divisor would be x plus 2 equal to 0. So, x is -2. Diba? X plus 2 equals 0. X therefore is -2. So, -2 yun. Ano ang unang gagawin? We bring down the first term. So, that's 3. Times negative 2, that's negative 6. You write that below the second term. So, negative 6. And then we add. So, you have negative 8 times negative 2. That's negative 16. Sorry, that's positive 16. Tapos, positive 16 plus negative 1, so you get positive 15 times negative 2. So, you get negative 30. Tapos, we add, so you get negative 29. Tapos, you multiply ulit, negative 29 times negative 2, that's 58. Tapos, 58 times negative 1, 58 plus negative 1, that's 57. So, ang remainder natin, 57. If you're going to write that as a quotient, that would be 3x cubed, okay, minus 8x squared, plus 15x, minus 29, plus the remainder 57, all over x plus 2. Okay, in remainder theorem, let's check our answer. So, in remainder theorem, we have to solve for f of negative 2. Diba? So, that would be f of negative 2 would be equivalent to 3 times negative 2 raised to 4 minus 2 times negative 2 cube minus, nasan ako? Negative 2 squared plus negative 2 minus 1. So, we can take our calculator with that para naman matulungan tayo, di ba? You're free to use your calculator naman. Pero, I suggest if you're going to use your calculator, do not use your cell phones, use your Casio. Kailangan masanay kayo dun sa scientific calculators that you have. So, you have 3 times negative 2 raised to 4. Okay, and then minus 2 times negative 2 raised to 3. Minus negative 2 squared. Okay, minus 2, minus 1. Sagot natin is 57, which is correct. So, yung remainder natin for f of negative 2 would be 57. Okay, and that gives you synthetic division. So, let me just close my calculator. Okay, so that's synthetic division, and that's everything you need to learn about basics on polynomials. Okay, so for your exercise, yan, please solve this chapter exercise. So, you will be simplifying the following. There are just 10 questions, and then you have to submit this via LMS. I will be creating a Dropbox wherein you will submit this, and then the instructions will be stipulated in the Dropbox. Okay, so I hope you understand the lesson. If you have questions, please feel free to message me. Okay, and then yan, credits to Slides Go for the presentation template that I'm using. Okay, so if you will be needing any presentation, you can use Slides Go. Some of the problems in this lesson are taken from the College Algebra book authored by Sergio Imas. Okay, and then of course, some of the examples are taken from our Math Plus book, which is authored by Dr. Henry Cabatay.